2024 Big Ten football. The picture that is 2024 Big Ten football is starting to get clearer. It's starting to come into focus just a little bit more with transfer portal movements and coaching movements in the rearview mirror for the most part. It's time to tackle the impossible. Oh, what have I done? It is time to tackle Big Ten pre-spring power rankings.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
18 teams, maybe 18,000 different disagreements in these 1 through 18 rankings from all of you. We are jumping into the great unknown. I am jumping into the great unknown with 4 new teams coming into this conference this season. How are these West Coast teams that are used to playing Oregon State, Stanford, Cal, they're used to playing maybe a certain kind of way, a certain kind of team year in and year out? How are they going to adjust to the Michigans, to the Penn States, even to the teams like an Iowa or a Wisconsin or the Minnesotas of the world? It is going to be different, and it's going to be different for the traditional Big Ten teams facing offenses like USC and offenses like Oregon. I'm going to show you my rankings, and I'm going to maybe explain why I put maybe one team above the other, and so on and so forth. Here we go, the great reveal. Defense. Defense wins championships. That's one key. When I took a look at maybe ranking some teams above other teams, I really looked at defense. This is a conference that will once again be one of the very best defensive conferences in all of college football next season, and I looked at defense when I had number 1 going over number 2. I had defense when I looked at Ohio State going over the Oregon Ducks. Ohio State's defense returned just about everybody. JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer on that great defensive line, Denzel Burke and others in the secondary. Do they lose Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers? Yeah, they do. But they also bring in one of the best players regardless of position, young players regardless of position, and Caleb Downs into this team. How about Quinshon Judkins, Trevion Henderson, and Will Howard as a 3-headed monster in the backfield? It is all coming together. They have backed up the NIL Brinks truck to try to bring home a national championship. And then when you look at the Oregon Ducks at number 2, right, I believe Ohio State is the best defense in college football, but I believe Oregon is the best offense in college football. This is a team that is built to win a national championship. When I looked at Oregon and when I looked at Ohio State, I looked at their quote-unquote weak units, right? Ohio State's offense and Oregon's defense, and I took the Buckeyes' offense slightly. Oregon, I think, needs to beef up a little bit in the middle as well. I took defense over offense once again, comparing 3 and 4. That is Michigan's defense, right? For as much as we talk about how many players from the Wolverines are going to get drafted, they still bring back a lot on the defensive side of the football. Will Johnson, Makari Page, Rod Moore in the secondary, a great defensive line with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and Derek Moore. Watch out for Jayshon Barham as one of the top impact transfers in this conference this season. He was one of the best defensive players for the Maryland Terrapins, and that's maybe why I have them at number 13 as well. But this is still going to be another really good defense at Michigan. Hey, they still got Donovan Edwards. They still got Colston Loveland, Tyler Morris, Samaj Morgan. On offense, they just got to figure things out at quarterback. And when I look at Penn State, new system, new coordinator. Even though I think Andy Kotelnicki will make things a little bit more creative, a little bit more dynamic in this Penn State offense, it's still new. Okay, but I really like what they have on offense. They've got a talented quarterback in Drew Aller. Julian Fleming comes in. We know about their running back tandem, and they've recruited really well on the offensive line. But defense. I think the defense is going to take a step down for Penn State. At least that's the way it looks right now. Their secondary has been so good the last handful of seasons. Jair Brown, Joey Porter Jr., and then this last year, Johnny Dixon and Kalen King. They got to find guys to step up back there. You lose Chop Robinson and Adisa Isaac off of this defensive line. Even though you have Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant up front, that's still a pretty big loss, right? Abdul Carter, one of the best linebackers in the country, is expected to lead that defense, but you lose your coordinator. You lose one of the best defensive coordinators, in my opinion, in college football, in Manny Diaz. How is Tom Allen going to be able to bring it all together? I think Penn State's offense takes a jump up. I think their defense takes a little bit of a jump down. But once again, remember I preface this with defense. And I think Michigan's defense holds the edge. And I think they bring back enough on the offensive side of the ball to slightly be above Penn State. Wisconsin, USC, and Iowa were kind of a cluster for me. I took the Badgers above the Trojans and the Hawkeyes because of balance. Okay, when you look at USC and when you look at Iowa, Iowa's got a really good defense. They got nothing on offense. You look at USC, they've got a fantastic offense, but they can't tackle anybody on defense. I thought Wisconsin was just a little bit more balanced. And when I look at the quarterback position compared to what offense they're playing in, I know Tyler Van Dyke did not play well last year and very recently at Miami, and that's Miami. But I think you pair him with Phil Longo. You got your top two receivers coming back. You got Ches Malusi coming back. I believe Wisconsin can be a balanced team. I'm not sure if they're really outstanding or great at anything, right? Offense or defense. But I think they're just a really balanced team. And I worry about Iowa offensively and USC defensively as well. Washington picked up Will Rogers in the transfer portal, right? I think that because remember when Jed Fish got hired, he entered the portal, then he withdrawed. I think Washington kind of survived the storm a little bit. We talked about the storm last week in terms of Sharon Moore, but in terms of Washington, I think Jed Fish, for as much as they lost pretty much their entire two deep on offense. This is still going to be a team. I think they're going to be okay. Right, they're probably going to go from 12-0 to something like 7-5 or 8-4, which seems like a pretty big dip. But if they can find that and they can make that happen in year one under Jed Fish, I think that could be a little minor victory as well for the Huskies. I really like Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. I love what he's been able to do, and I can't wait to see Aiden Childs on the football field at MSU. Right, one key hire, maybe it is one of the biggest assistant coaching hires, was getting Joe Rossi from Minnesota to be the defensive coordinator at Michigan State. Sparty's got some pretty good players coming back on defense, right? I think we learned pretty quickly that this thing got away from Mel Tucker very fast after that great 2021 season. And I said it then, and I'm going to say it now. It is very clear that Kenneth Walker got Mel Tucker paid. He did not really build a great program maybe after Kenneth Walker or around him. And, you lose guys like a Peyton Thorne and a Keon Coleman, and it really showed and it really hurt. But when I look at Jonathan Smith, he is a program builder. He is a program developer, okay? And I think that he can get them back to bowl eligibility. I really like what I see right now, Michigan State. When you look at Rutgers, this is a team that has invested NIL-wise. They've invested in retainment. They have retained almost all of their defense that was really good last year. They're going to be even better this year. The leader in the Big Ten in rushing, you bring him back as well. Kyle Monangai. Ethan Kaliakmanis is an upgrade over Gavin Wimsatt. Not saying the bar is extremely high. I think Gavin's going to enter the portal here this spring. But this is a Rutgers team that avoids a lot of the big boys on their schedule as well. This is an old school, tough, Greg Schiano, chop it up type of team. And I love what Rutgers has been able to build. I love what they did this past season. And I think they're going to really build and expound on it this next season as well. Maryland and Purdue, man, they really took some hits in the transfer portal. When you look at Maryland, they lost Jayshon Barham. They lost Corey Dyches. They lost Antoine Littleton out of the portal. Then you look at Talia and Tagovailoa and Deshaun Jones. Look, they have some decent players, right? Some handful of guys sprinkled in on defense, on offense as well. They got to figure things out at quarterback. You still got Roman Hemby, who's still a really good running back in this conference, but they got to figure things out at quarterback. Is it going to be MJ Morris, the NC State transfer, Cameron Edge, Billy Edwards? Who is it going to be? I think Mike Locksley is one of the more underrated coaches in this conference. We're going to find out exactly where Maryland sits. It seems like Maryland the past couple of years, they're just bound for 7-5. This is a Maryland team sometimes that finds ways to lose to teams outside of the Big Three. So I'm very curious to see, especially after all of these losses, what does a Mike Loxley team look like post Taulia Tagovailoa? He's been there so long. We've gotten so used to what that team looks like. There's just a lot of uncertainty right now for Maryland, and they've taken some big-time gut punches. And I talk about Purdue as well. Their entire, I joke you not, their entire wide receiver room is gone. Garrett Miller, right, one of their good tight ends, is gone as well. Nick Scorton transfers to Texas A&M. He had 10 sacks. This is a Purdue team that has recruited really well, folks. Okay, I think Ryan Walters, considering where Purdue is as a program and in the era that we are in, right, for him to bring in top 30 to top 35 classes in the country, I think is a big-time victory. But they struggled last year at 4-8. And then you look at this year and all the losses that they've taken in the portal. It's hard right now to really, especially in this environment, right, in this 18-team Big Ten that continues to get better and better, for me to put Purdue above some of these other teams in this conference as well. I want to hear what you guys think. I'd be talking here for 30, 40 minutes if I talked about every single one of these teams. Leave your thoughts in the comments below about what you think of each and every single one of these Big Ten teams. Where do you think they will stack up? Tell me where I'm wrong. I will address each and every single one of these teams individually if you bring it up in the comments. I'm Big Ten Ted. The 2024 season can't get here soon enough. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.